So this is something that's pretty difficult for me to do because I don't really do it often. I mean, I've done commentary for videos before, but generally it's just like on the game, and I generally just talk about the game. I don't talk about other stuff. I rarely go into talking about myself personally because that's incredibly difficult for a lot of reasons. Besides the fact that I have generally constant interruptions between a cat, dog, a sister, a mother, and and tons of other people. It's just hard for me to talk about stuff personally. Like there's always like my worrying family that will overhear me talking, or they randomly come across one of my YouTube videos when once in a blue moon they decide to watch YouTube. They end up coming. It's like I always get this entire conversation talking about how I shouldn't talk about shouldn't talk about personal things about what goes on in my life, or what's going on in my life, or what's going on, or what happens in the house, or other people shouldn't have to hear certain things, and we can't believe you said that. Things of that nature, and they're like completely over worrying that there's going to be somebody out there that will use this information for malicious intent and do some really bad things to me. I don't think I really mentioned anything that incredibly personal. At least not out in public, from what I can tell. The other thing is just I don't really like. It's not. I've been generally raised, or I've grown up to that point where I have the thoughts that nobody wants to hear you talk about yourself. Like, nobody cares about what you do. Like, I should put it towards me. Like, no one really cares about how exactly I'm doing, or what I'm doing. They don't really care about that stuff. Like, people don't really care about that stuff. They just want to care about the current subject. And a lot of people that tend to ask the question like, "Hey, how are you doing today?" They don't really want like an entire They don't really want like this tirade of like things that's going on in your life. They just want, like, generally they accept like, "Oh, fine." And that's generally the people I've grown up around with. Like, they don't really care. Like, a lot of people don't care. Like, "Oh, this is going on in your life? I'm sorry." Like, "Oh, like, you're depressed? I'm sorry." Like, usually I get the negative response, like, "We don't care. Like, we just want this," and then they quickly scurry off to where. Anyway, besides that, I wanted to try doing something a bit personal, like just getting to talk to various YouTubers and Twitter followers and whatnot, a bit more personal, because I haven't really spoken to anyone in a while. And another thing is that I try to be more outgoing this year. I wanted to get with like groups of people and just start hanging out with friends a lot more, or at least try to. But, well, thanks to certain events that have occurred, that has pretty much made that impossible, or at least impossible on the common sense side of things. So I caught a video by that of AlphaRad, and he's done this at least 3 times, maybe even more, where he just basically throws out a tweet, or just throws out a post saying like, "Hey, like, how about I answer some questions for you guys? Like, ask me anything," and he does it. And it worked for him, so I figured, well, why don't I try the same thing? No, this is not me attempting to be AlphaRad. There's no way I can be that guy. I don't think I want to be that guy. not saying that he's bad or anything. It's just I want to be me, and well, whatever. I'm gonna move on. So I put it out there, and I didn't expect to get many questions, and just as the result, I didn't get many questions. But I'll answer what I have. So the first question I get is, what is the food you consider not wanting to eat ever? Well, first off, I would probably say that KFC sandwich that has appeared that has pretty much been advertised a while back, where it's chicken on donut bread, and I was like, that just looks like a heart attack on a bun. Just looking at that makes me feel like I'm going to die from diabetes just from eating one of those sandwiches. I don't know if it's good or bad or not. It just really looks like if I eat that, I'm going to die, or I'm going to be twitching on the floor in a shock. But I think that would be too easy. Let's see. Consider not wanting to eat ever. Well, there's peas. Peas of any kind, like green peas, black-eyed peas. I think there's another color. I do not like peas. I've had them before, and now that whenever I look at them, I just go, especially when they're in mixed vegetables, and the mixed vegetables are mainly just peas. Well, I think there might be another. I think there might be another one. Let's see. How about another type of food I wouldn't eat? Let's see. Let's try Alfredo sauce. It's not like, I mean, I would. Well, I guess I would kind of eat it. I mean, if it's like the only thing there at the moment, or if I'm just really hungry. But I'm not that big of a fan of Alfredo sauce in terms of pasta, because I think that's just too much cheese. Like, I would prefer the red sauce. And usually whenever someone fixes it for dinner, or I see it, I just go like, that's just too much cheese for me. So, next question is, what made you want to start doing YouTube videos? Oh boy. About to say, I don't think I've never been asked that. I've been asked, why do I have so many videos? But really, it honestly just came out of nowhere, where how it started was I was one of those mini members on GaiaOnline.com or whatever it's called now. I don't even know if Gaia Online exists anymore. Does it still exist? Yeah, it still exists, and it's updated. Which I wonder how many people actually know what Gaia Online is. I don't really. I was there after I graduated from high school, and it was just generally a room where I just would chat with friends, and then I made different friends, and eventually one of them, when we ended up in good old MSN and Yahoo Instant Messenger back when it was good. Back when those things were good, one of them introduced me to YouTube, and he showed me one of his YouTube videos, which was, well, if you don't know the beginning of YouTube, a lot of people started doing their YouTube by making anime music videos, or AMVs as they call them. Which it would essentially be, which most AMVs at the time would pretty much just be like Naruto, Dragon Ball, Inuyasha, etc. And it would either be a slideshow or just random clips that they managed to acquire online, and essentially thrown together to music such as Evanescence, Slipknot, etc. Slipknot and other such musics. And other such songs. I watched one of his videos, which I believe it was a Sasuke video tied to Evanescence Everybody's Fool, and I was like, what the heck is this? I think that was the video I first saw. I'm not entirely sure. I'm not entirely sure, but I do remember it was a Naruto. It was Naruto related, and I was like, you know what? I want to try and do my own type of video. So I did my own type of AMV, and it wasn't on an anime. It was on a video game. And I essentially used Kingdom Hearts 2 because Kingdom Hearts 2 just dropped and there was a bunch of video clips that I could use. So I did that, and I tied that to Devil May Cry music. I showed it to him, and he said, "Oh well, I guess that's kind of good, I guess, but you use video game content and not like anime content, so your AMV is not that good." I said screw him, and I continued making AMVs for no good reason until I got sick of that, and I came across a guy by the name of Kirby Rules who was essentially what started me on YouTube, because he did actual comedy over Mega Man content, and I was like, wow, that's actually pretty funny. You know what? I want to try and do the same. So I started doing the same. I started doing the same as Kirby Rules, and I started doing it over various Mega Man games. At first, it was just random scenes, and then it just turned into me doing funny content on Mega Man Battle Network in general. Of course, most of those videos are now dead thanks to YouTube and Google and Viacom and other companies. But I managed to actually, but it was actually pretty funny at the time, and I enjoyed making it, especially at the time when I first ran those videos by my sister, who had a pretty good laugh at it, and then I also placed them on YouTube, and a lot of people liked them, a lot of people didn't like them, and I enjoyed making them, especially considering at the time that it was incredibly easy to do. I would just use the emulator function. And then the screenshot function in Windows Movie Maker back when Windows Movie Maker actually worked, and I made videos. Of course now I can't really do those videos as easily thanks to pretty much the standards of quality that are now accepted, but I enjoyed making YouTube videos. So I just kept on rolling with it. I didn't expect that I would stick with making YouTube videos, because I did have various plans to go to I did have various plans, such as going to college and getting various jobs, which I did end up getting a job that I ended up quitting because of how dangerous the work was and many other reasons. But I didn't really like college due to how much money they were requiring me to have, and the fact that apparently anybody that I tried to get to co-sign with me for a loan was pretty much never going to happen. But that's another story for another time. Anyway, I just started enjoying making YouTube videos, and it passed the time incredibly fast. I was like, okay, well, I recorded more game content. Let me just make more YouTube videos. And I just kept uploading. Little did I know that, eventually opportunity just came down. Well, I actually was reluctant to actually jump into having my videos monetized, and I feel like I was one of the last few to actually start. Well, and this is when monetizing your videos was actually not the cool thing to do. A lot of people at the time either joined up with Machinima, which from what I hear, Machinima was not that good in terms of making money off your YouTube videos. But essentially, any person that was making money off of YouTube videos at the time, a lot of people would say like, "Oh, well, this person sold out on making YouTube by monetizing their YouTube videos and putting ads up on them." And pretty much every person at the time that offered me to make YouTube videos, I was just not interested at the time. I went, maybe not, because I feel like I would be selling out and people would start complaining that there's ads on videos. But eventually I just took an interest, and a lot of people said like, "Oh yeah, go ahead," and I went ahead with monetizing. It's like yeah, there's people that complain about monetizing videos here and there, but it's not as bad as people thought it would be. So eventually I just kept going with YouTube videos, and it worked out for me. So the third question that I got was, what's your favorite Tales game? Well, Tales of game. Well, I would say Tales of Symphonia would be my favorite Tales game, or I would say Tales of Destiny Director's Cut would be my favorite Tales game. But I never played Tales of Destiny, so I can't really say that that's my favorite Tales game when I haven't played it. And I honestly really want to play Tales of Rebirth. And there's so many other Tales games I honestly would love to play, such as Tales of Phantasia Narikiri Dungeon X. I think that's the full title. Because I played that demo and I enjoyed what I played. But I would have to give my favorite Tales of game title to Tales of Vesperia. It's like I love the combat. I honestly love the combat system. I love the characters in that game, and just about everything. Honestly, a lot of people say like, "Oh, well, they hate the game how it ends because they feel the ending is like way too much padding." But I think that's all Tales games in general with the end game. If you're gonna make that complaint, because I feel like all the Tales games have that, like, essentially will pull that same bit. But I enjoy everything about Tales of Vesperia, and I do plan on getting the. Is it called a Director's Cut, or is it called Definitive Edition? I think it's called Definitive Edition. I do plan on getting that, just so. Even though I probably will not enjoy having Patty on my team, who is essentially a random character in in terms of battle. But I think I would enjoy playing the Definitive Edition of that game, since it finally came out in English. That would have to be my favorite. My second one, I would generally throw that to Tales of. I would have to throw that to Tales of Xillia 2. Not the first one, the second one. I like the second one. That's also one where I felt like everything was. It felt like if I enjoyed all the characters, and I felt like everything there was streamlined. And done pretty well. A lot of people will disagree and say like, "Oh, well, you're barred by paying money, so you can open up your next quest." But you can easily get through that. You can easily get through that with just a couple of simple tricks. And I honestly did enjoy playing that. I would say I enjoy Tales of the World, but I have to rank that as either number 3 or 4, and that would have to compete with That would have to compete with Tales of Symphonia 2. Or Tales of Symphonia. Yeah, that would have to compete with Tales of Symphonia 2. And the only reason is because in Tales of the World, I get to create my own character. So I basically get to be the hero and everybody else gets to support me. But we never got the second or third game because I guess US isn't worthy of having those games. And it's basically a debate between me liking the monster system and Tales of Symphonia 2 or Tales of Symphonia Dawn of the New World. Or do I like just creating my own character and basically being my own badass? But going back to the main question, I like Tales of Vesperia the most out of all of them. Out of all the ones that I played, I really want to play Tales of Rebirth, or really I just want to play the Tales of games that I haven't played that are not mobile games. Anyway, that pretty much sums that question up. So the last question. Oh, it's 2 questions. If it's okay, I want to ask 2 questions. Well, I don't have that many questions to begin with, so I'll answer them. Do you remember the first game or game genre you ever played? And what game or games do you look forward going back to? So the first game I believe I've ever played would be Super Mario Brothers on the NES. And that actually comes with a bit of a funny story because Dad actually says that because my mom never wanted me to play video games. She never wanted me to have a video game console. She never wanted me to play video games. She said it would ruin my life. She said it would ruin my life, and I would never amount to anything. And it's like among many other reasons she didn't want me playing video games. Like I said, so my dad bought me an NES, and he bought me Super Mario Brothers / Duck Hunt. And I mainly remember playing Mario Brothers on the NES more than I played Duck Hunt at the time. Excuse me. So I guess my first game genre would be a platformer or action platformer. Yeah, it's funny because I actually remember Sonic 1 a lot more than I remember Super Mario Brothers. And that's probably because Sonic stuck more with me than playing Mario. I would always remember that in Super Mario Brothers, I would always make it to World 8 via I ended up learning about the shortcuts. I somehow remember learning about the shortcuts. I would always make it to World 8, but I could never get past 8-1. And on the rare occurrence that I could get past 8-1, I could not get past 8-2, thus hitting a game over. Which is right. So yeah, there's that. And what game or games do I always look forward to going back to? Ooh, that is kind of tough because it's usually. I mean, these days it's hard for me to go back to a game because I'm always like, okay, I need to go back and because I'm like, oh, I don't have time to go back. I have to play this new game and have it uploaded to YouTube. So I haven't really given thought to going back to games in a very long time. But I would probably say Final Fantasy VII is one of those games that I always go back. I always generally just go back to. But even though yes, I do know the Final Fantasy VII remake, and and if you haven't heard, but I've mentioned before that I wanted to wait until all the Final Fantasy VII, that entire series of the Final Fantasy VII remake came out, so I don't have to think of it as the .hack treatment. and I can just play through those games back to back to back and back to back. What else is there? Saga Frontier is something that I generally look forward to going back to, because Saga Frontier, Saga Frontier, every time I play it, it's never really the same thing. It's never really the same playthrough. Like, I can never really, I mean, yes, everything is like, a lot of stuff in RPG games is based on RNG, but I can never really get the same. I can never really get the same stuff to happen consistently in that game. Let's see. I'm looking. Sonic. I would say Sonic Adventure is one that I always do somehow go back to, or even look forward to going back to, because it's just fun to go back to that. I have to turn around. I had to turn around and just look at my shelf and go like, okay, what do I look forward to going back to? Like, what do I remember always going back to? Oh yeah, oh, and then Star Ocean 3 or Star Ocean Till the End of Time. I always enjoy going back to that, especially because it's just, hey, for one, I feel like those kind of games, it's never really the same for me. Like, it's never really like the same for me to go back to. Like, I have recently revisited the Tekken series or the Tekken games that I have, and I started to notice certain things. I started to notice certain things in the game that I didn't notice before, which is always enjoyable. I believe that's the same thing for the other games, especially the Star Ocean series, the most. Because there's always something I never noticed, and that game has a ton of lore in it. The game has a ton of lore in it, and even more so, that game has more than one way to beat any given boss in the game. And there's even a reason. There's even more of a reason to actually challenge yourself and do like, oh, well, I'm gonna beat this boss at level 1, or oh, I'm gonna beat this boss at level 1, or oh, I'm gonna beat this boss using only items, or oh, I'm gonna beat this boss using only spellcasters, which spellcasters are not that great in the game. The Star Ocean series always provides me with entertainment every time I run through it, especially when it comes to trying to build like character relationships. The last time I jumped into Star Ocean Till the End of Time, I did not expect my ending to basically be Fate and Adre together. Because I said to myself, like, I don't remember ever doing anything that would force Fate and Adre to be together. Because I was basically just going for a neutral ending, and I was like, wow, I can't believe that happened. Like, I wonder what I did. Like, I wonder what I did, I wonder what I did differently in this playthrough, other than a few things, other than like this thing here. Like, did that actually give me points somehow? So that honestly is how. So those games definitely are something I always look forward to going back to, and just starting a new playthrough. Not even for speedrun purposes or anything like that. It's just it's those type of games where it's never really the same experience as my first experience, or oh, I'm gonna do the same thing over again and expect the same result. Like, it's never the same for me. So I enjoy going back to those. So I believe that that pretty much ends the Q&A for this, because that's all the questions I got. Unless somehow I randomly come across my like I go through my Twitter or my YouTube pops up in between me recording this, and actually making the video, because I still got to record the video content and then I got to get it all put together. Because like I want to try, like I do want to try and do that. There's not. I wanted to try, like I generally wanted to try this more, and I guess I should try. I guess I should share this bit of news with you as well. I am moving. I'm apparently going to be moving in like 2 or 3 months from now, and this is because my mother is deciding to retire early just to go, like, and we're going to go move down with my grandfather, and I believe that's going to affect my. I believe that's going to affect my uploading on YouTube a lot, because he doesn't really have internet. He doesn't really have internet available, like readily available, and even more so, like the availability of a TV down there is like it's pretty scarce. Like he only has one actual TV that actually has HD on it. Like he doesn't really care to like upgrade or anything. And we're generally just doing it just to be like to try and be close to the grandfather and try and take care of him. There's also just the fact that me living down there and having to be there is like that's going to be a huge change in my life, and I'm like, okay, I probably won't have time for doing this stuff anymore because I won't have it. Because I'm thinking like, okay, if we're gonna live like either with my grandfather or just nearby, I probably won't have the room that I have now to be able to just work on YouTube videos. Because apparently my sister is also moving out and that also, well, that will decrease my availability because I did want to try and play some more Nintendo Switch games, and as of current, I do not own a Nintendo Switch. And I also wanted to play a couple other games that I do not own on PS4, but either she or her boyfriend does. And they're looking to move out someplace else. Which, good for them. Good for them, I suppose. But it's also the fact that I'm generally I'm not entirely happy about the whole situation of this sudden decide to move, because I was actually planning on moving next year or so, with like for one when things settle down, and also moving in with someone else, or attempt to, because I wanted to actually move out from the state of Georgia. But now that this has happened, I have to kind of just rework my plans and see how things go. Anyway, that's about it for this video. I'll fill you in more later when I know more details on what's gonna happen. So that ends for this video. Until then, I am Brad Reedy Gaming Moles. I am signing off. Thanks for watching. See you guys next time, and I hope you enjoyed whatever heck the content was that I filled in that's essentially muted.